welcome back. Thought you'd rejoin us. Michael Brown, he of a certain goal, not just that goal. He scored quite a lot of goals in his career, but there's one that everybody remembers, particularly Blade supporters. We're going to show that in a minute, and Michael's going to celebrate in his own way. Seth Bennett, the all-round jack of all trades sports reporter with the BBC, he of Olympics fame and goodness knows what, so many events worldwide, and he's grounded at the moment, which must be a frustrating experience. Is that right? I mean, Seth, what would you have been doing this year but for you know what?
Well, usually at this time of year, I'm in Melbourne for the tennis, the Australian Open, or I'd be getting ready for the Super Bowl, which is on Sunday. So two vastly different things. Two amazing, like as a sports fan, two of the greatest events you could go and see. The absolute gluttony and the human fest of a Super Bowl. And then you've got Melbourne, which is such a cool city. And we'd stay about 1.5 miles away from Melbourne Park. And you'd kind of get up in the morning, walk along the river, get to Melbourne Park, and we'd be doing a series of lives into BBC World News or into BBC Breakfast. And we'd create all of that content that would go from sort of 11 o'clock in the morning, Australia time, all the way through to, if you've got a late match, 2 or 3 in the morning. It's absolutely punishing and knackering, but one of the most fun things that you could do. But when I look back, I feel so fortunate. We were talking about the 03-04 Sheffield United team. And as a relatively young reporter at that time, on Radio Sheffield, where football heaven was becoming something that was pretty big, we were breaking a lot of stories, and we were there on all of those magic moments. I think if I was to choose what I was doing right now, I think going back to that 03-04 season was probably as good as it gets.
Okay, well, we're going to see that goal in a moment. Michael, we've been relatively lucky. Poor old Seth there has been grounded back home. He should have been across the world. Incredible. And every time I go to a football match and there's just a few of us there, I'm just amazed that there's an empty ground, players are playing, and I'm there. I can't believe it. Do you ever pinch yourself like that when you're on media duty? We are lucky, aren't we? Really?
Yeah, we're very, very fortunate. I mean, I was at Brighton last week, and I was obviously with the TV side of it. I was working for BT Sport. You've got a gantry and a platform, and there's myself and the presenter just stood right over the back of the goal on the corner. Nobody, obviously, the media side take the main stand up we're all used to seeing, for instance, at Sheffield United. Or sometimes it's the same at Sheffield United, where you have the gantry on the far side, where the corner flag is, behind the cop sort of thing in that corner. And when you stood on that, stood there, and you actually think, how fortunate and how lucky is this? You're literally hearing everything. You're hearing, it's totally different to that. You miss the atmosphere and the thrill of all the supporters, but you can hear all the voices. You're really close to it. You can hear the tackles. You can hear just the way the ball's kicked. And obviously people organising, having a go. So yeah, we're incredibly lucky to be in such a situation like it is. And we can't wait for those supporters to get back. And just listening to Seth, though, but I'd also love to go and cover and be around the Super Bowl and obviously the Olympics, all the different sports. And I've had a little bit of taste of Champions League, where you go with the media for a couple of days and follow the team around and do some stuff like that. But for the longevity, like say, of a Euros, a World Cup, or Olympics, for instance, that would be something I'd really like to do. And it's a shame that you're not getting there, but some patience to be away from home for such a long time as well.
Yeah. I'll tell you something, apart from the shouts of the players and the managers and coaches that we hear, they hear us. Have you come across that?
Well, yeah, it's funny. I'm not looking forward to the weekend. Yeah. We're at Newcastle at the weekend, and at Newcastle, you're literally right behind the dugout. And I'm with Ian Dennis, Five Lives, main commentator with John Murray, etc. And a great bunch of people, great guys, all of the Five Live lot. Seth knows them as well. Really good fun. I've never been welcomed like we have. And they're obviously so honest with the football, love the detail, love everything about it. And I was at Aston Villa, and someone said, "Oh, it's amazing, isn't it, how they can hear you?" And it was at half time, and I've gone, oh no. To my right-hand side, Dean Smith's there with John Terry, and I've been saying they need to do better, they need to get in this. And then when you take one ear off, you actually start to hear yourself and hear what everybody else is saying. So I'm conscious of it.
Yeah.
And going back to Newcastle, Ian Dennett said to me, he's reporting right behind Steve Bruce. And obviously, he needs to do better. He needs to get a striker on the pitch. And all of a sudden, Steve just stares at him, looks around and stares. And then Deno's realised, oh, my God, everything I'm saying. So I'm at Newcastle on Saturday in obviously a huge game against Southampton. Them losing to Palace behind Steve Bruce, who I know well. I'm looking forward to lining Deno up a little bit, getting him into a bit of a trouble. I said, well, do you think they need to do a bit better, Deno? And hopefully, as he says, the pundits are okay because he feels that they have played, they've got an opinion. But as a commentator, it's hard to, and you guys will know that, it's hard to actually say the opinion rather than the question. So I'll try and stitch him up on Saturday if I can. And hopefully Steve Bruce gives him the stare and gets him into trouble.
Well, that's a great story, but Steve Bruce is also a great bloke. Whatever people say about him, I think journalists and the media love him because he is so honest, and I cannot for the life of me fathom the amount of stick he gets. Well, look, I've left you waiting long enough. We know what's coming now. Let's have a look at this. Michael's not seen it today. It was voted.
I seen it last night, though.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, here you are. I know that you've got withdrawal symptoms, so we'll see it again. It was the goal voted for by Sheffield United supporters as their greatest ever. It was the Sheffield derby at Bramall Lane in 2003, which the Blades won by 3-1, thanks to this.
What's going to happen next? Who knows? Will it fall favourably here for Brown? Oh! Michael Brown with a stunner! That is astounding! Sheffield United 2, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Pick that one out. Well, they do not come much better than this. When you watch the ball with the concentration as Michael Brown does on this, then you accept all the rewards because they'll all come your way. Watch this, there's no danger, it's bouncing around, Monk gets it away. All he can do, Monk, is head it towards Michael Brown. Look at the technique, look at the strike, it's absolutely beautiful. Look at the celebration.
Just amazing feeling. You can just see the smiles on my face, and I can't tell you what you felt like. As it hits your boot and as it goes in, obviously Sheffield Wednesday as well, and the relief and the fans were just going crazy. I remember Neil's celebration, punching the air, and I think Chris Kamara does it really well as his commentary. Obviously, he knows it well, and it just sat up. And I thought, I can't believe I even went for it. I can't believe I even tried it. It was up now. I think it would pull my hip out, but to actually hit it on the volley right across, it was that's the clip there with Neil Warnock actually celebrating. It was just iconic, and obviously at the centenary dinner, 125 years, and the vote came in, and I think there was a few people looking along the way. Tony Curry saying, "I've scored some really special goals. I'm right up there for the greatest ever Sheffield United goal," and I was really privileged. I think it certainly helped being recent times against Sheffield Wednesday. I got something here that one of the kids has just brought me, so I thought I'd show you that. So it's a special place that I have.
Yeah.
So it's what I got on the day, sort of. It says pride and place. My son has it on top of his fireplace in his bedroom. He keeps it there for me. And I always tell him to be safe. But yeah, it's really special to me. That 27th of September 2014, celebrating 125 years of the Blades, scored the greatest ever goal. So yeah, that's probably one of my prized possessions that I really cherish. And yeah, everybody who's Sheffield United supporter actually always asks, don't they, what about that goal? Always like talking about it, and yeah, great memories. Yeah,
it's wonderful to celebrate the goal in that way with that commemorative trophy that you have. The ground exploded, which is what we're missing at the moment. You must have exploded inside and out. Is it something you can ever describe? The elation, the feeling that you get on a football field after doing something like that?
It is what you've grown up to do all your life, really. And when you talk about privileges of talk about being at stadiums when we're there watching, when supporters can't. I mean, yeah, I enjoy going to the games. I'm lucky when supporters are not, but the feeling you get when you score that, you are so privileged, and it's worth all that hard work, dedication you've put. If you can have a moment like that, I think you're going well, because there's lots of good moments, but that would be a real special one to actually, that it keeps coming back. It keeps getting, it's not just a one-time moment where you've scored a goal, you've really enjoyed it, it was a big goal, but that keeps getting run every time we do Sheffield United games or other games against Sheffield Wednesday. They might bring it up, and everyone you meet who's a Sheffield United supporter, and still now we're talking about it today. So, yeah, very, very fortunate to have been in that position, and I'm glad I just fluked it in past Pressman.
Well, I'm sure you never tire of it. If there's a serious side to this, I'll bring Seth in on it. It kind of explains to me why former sports professionals, footballers, etc., do experience difficulties after they finish playing, because how can you replace that sort of euphoria in your everyday life, Seth? And we've met people, haven't we, some high-profile people in sport who understandably have struggled, mentally, because you can't replace it.
Well, you think even what we do, and for me, I was working that night. I was down on the field, and at the end of the game, you're part of the muck and bullets, and you're doing your interviews, and you're all excited, and then you go back and you do the rest of the work you have to do on that night. You go home. I wouldn't go to sleep until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning following a night game, because I was absolutely pulsing with adrenaline. And I'm sure Michael finds that when you do a big live broadcast game where you're doing the commentary, it's hard to come down afterwards, because you do get that massive flood of adrenaline when things have, particularly when you've had a good game and when things have gone well. And so, yeah, you completely understand. And, I've never stood in the middle of Bramall Lane and been cheered by 35,000 people at an incredible moment. I've been booed by a fair few, mind you. Michael probably has too. And it's one of those where you must crave some of that still, even if it's just for that moment to get that adrenaline rush. And it must be really, really difficult. I know that when I came away from commentating, 100 games a season, it was relief at first, but that was the thing that I started to miss very, very quickly. All of a sudden not being there. And right now for me, when I'm sitting at home watching these games on TV with my kids and my wife, there is part of me that it absolutely kills me that I'm not able to go out and go and watch from a gantry or from a press box, to go and see that little bit more as to what's going on, to do the post-match interviews and to have those moments with, some people, and share those moments in the media box. What I would say, one of the funnest things for me, Michael loved his time in the hotel, loved his time on the training ground. For me, it was always the journeys to and from games, where you jump in the car, and those 3 or 4 hours in the car, you'd get all of the banter, you'd get all of the Mickey taking, the name calling, all of the pre-game analysis, 4 hours before you're getting on air. And then exactly the same, you get all of the breakdown on the way home. And that's kind of a big part of what you end up missing when you're not doing it every week.
I totally identify with what you're saying. Having watched Sheffield United beat West Brom, I had to come home and have a bottle of red wine, and I only had a few hours sleep. But I tell you what, I sent a congratulatory WhatsApp to Chris Wilder after Sheffield United's recent win at Manchester United, and he replied at 3:20 a.m. the following morning. I'm not saying he enjoyed the night, but it was 3:20 in the morning. You can understand that, Michael. You must have had games. I mean, after that game there, as Seth was talking, you didn't have a good night's sleep. You wouldn't have wanted to go to sleep, would you?
No, you wouldn't. You're just so bright. And I think what we forget is for Chris Wilder, for instance, on that night, you've got to take into context, we're sort of saying, well, okay, 3 points in the Premier League, the point difference is so far away. But as a manager and as a personal game for Chris Wilder, he's just gone and beat Manchester United at Old Trafford, who are touching the top of the league. It's a remarkable result. And I think you've got to give credit to say he's still pinching himself that his team can go and win at Old Trafford. And it's a brilliant sort of night for the people involved. And that's not about the league table. It's not about the point. It's just actually that night alone was just an incredible moment of a team performance. And you say about a manager that Chris has waited and managed for 10 years or whatever, waiting for a moment. Like I'm saying, I've trained all my life for that goal. That was a real special moment just on its own. So forget the situation, forget everything around it. And he'll really be proud of that result. And he should be. And hopefully he could have enjoyed a nice glass of red wine, watched the game back, sat, seen all the messages and think, wow, what a result I've just got for my team and personally all the hard work. And the special moments in football that you get. And it was great because I always love seeing Chris, and I've seen you last time at Sheffield United. I'm stood outside, one of the guys grabbing me, talking about the West Brom game coming up. I think there was a feature in the programme or something last night, not seen it. And all of a sudden, as he's talking to me, this guy pulls up, walks over. I'm thinking, who's this with his carrier bag walking in? And it's Chris. And he's walking in with a carrier bag, and I says, mate, trendy from the Premier League manager, walking in with his big shot bag, he called it. And it was just nice moment we had. We talked about different stuff, had a little laugh and a giggle, and we didn't even really mention football, which was nice, just normal stuff, had a giggle and talked about his big shot. So it was good. Great.
Hey, Alan, I don't know if we've got time. Can I tell a very brief Chris Wilder story? So a few years ago, we were doing, it was when I was still at Radio Sheffield, we were doing a Tuesday night from Doncaster. It was Doncaster Rovers against Sheffield United. And I think it was the day that Brian Howard made his debut. Certainly it was the day that he signed, something like that. Anyway, we've gone and we've done the game. And our programme finished at 10:30. So by the time we've got packed up, very nice. As we got packed up, we've gone out to the car park, and it's all quiet outside. All of a sudden, I see this bloke flying across the car park, screaming and shouting at us. And you know what? These were pretty fiery times at moments, and so you're thinking, "Oh Christ, what are we walking into here? You know, are we gonna cop one here? Have we got somebody that we've got to deal with?" It was Chris Wilder, who'd been watching the game with his mates in a luxury box, and he'd nipped off to go to the loo before they went home, and they drove off without him. So Chris Wilder, who I think he was manager of Oxford at the time, he came over and he said, "Hey lads, is there any chance of a lift back to the station so I can get the last bus home?" And that was it. So he jumped in our little Radio Sheffield van, our little gas van there that we used to have, and came back. And he was like everybody else, you know, tore apart the game in the journey back to Sheffield, and then jumped out the station, gave us a tap on the roof, and disappeared back home again. And he hasn't changed that much since then. You know, when you see him, when you talk to him, it's one of the lovely things. And like with Michael, he will have been as excited to come and have a chat with you, Michael, as you would be to see him and have a chat with him about whatever else was going on.
Yeah, it sounds like Chris after one of our Christmas do's where we have a Christmas bash with managers on an annual basis. I really missed it last December, couldn't do it. This is what you were referring to, Michael, the piece in the Sheffield programme for West Brom. Do you recognise that young fella there?
I know, it's incredible, huh? Just looking at that. No, I remember the features. I just actually thought of it then, and so they did run it last night, did they? Yeah, they did put it.
Yeah. The headline is one of the strangest games I've ever played in, and I think you were the last player to come off injured. The battle of
Rob Ullathorne followed me.
Oh, did he? Yeah,
Rob Ullathorne was the last. He was always a bit slower than me. See, Rob, give him a bit of stick. I still speak to him now, actually. So he's a good guy. He's he's heading up a load of Mercedes stuff for the VIP, Rob. So he's a good guy. He's keeping busy.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I've got to mention Sheffield Wednesday. Any thoughts on Sheffield Wednesday?
Do we have to?
It's been a turbulent season, eh?
Do we have to?
You don't if you don't want to. They've only had three managers. Tony Pulis, Gary Monk was sacked. Tony Pulis was sacked in quick time. And yet Neil Thompson, the caretaker manager, is on a great run. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. But you don't watch Championship, do you? Not much.
I do. I've got to watch the Championship. Yeah, I cover the EFL for Quest. I do the live Football League show, all 3 leagues. So I do that on a regular occasion. So I do try and catch up where I can. It's not as easy to watch all of the leagues when you're doing the different games. I'm even doing a Bundesliga game next week, which is new to me from Lola TV. So yeah, different. I love watching different games. So yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, always the talking point in the city. Great rivalry. You know, as we said, we discussed those games, and the quicker those games can come back, the better. I'm sure Sheffield Wednesday supporters will be looking forward to those. Sheffield United supporters won't really want to see them again, want to keep them right where they were and carry on in the Premier League. But I really enjoyed my games against them, and a huge football club, as we know. They've had that bit of uncertainty, a bit of ownership issues, and still some strange times. But a Sheffield Wednesday supporter I know well, Michael Vaughan, always keeps you reminded of his time with his true passion in Sheffield Wednesday. So I do get that rammed down my throat when they start to do quite well.
Yeah, Michael Vaughan, a friend of the show, was on the show just a couple of months ago and spoke in no uncertain terms about things that might be going wrong at Hillsborough. We're going to wind up now with Seth on ice hockey, because you're an ice hockey coach. I'm sorry about the incredulity in my voice, but you are an ice hockey coach, as well as quite an accomplished league cricketer. Tell us about Sheffield Steelers and the hell that they've been going through amid this pandemic, and what the future might hold.
Yeah, good time to talk about it, actually, Alan. The Elite League announced yesterday that the Elite League season was going to be over and they weren't going to bother with 2021. This was after they'd been looking at potential opportunities of government funding to be able to operate behind closed doors. But in the end, that funding was only coming in grant form. So it would be loans that they had to pay back. And as businesses, they weren't willing to put themselves in a position that they would have to start the next season already behind the 8 ball, and they want to start from fresh in September. It's a nightmare. For somebody like Tony Smith, who owns the Steelers, he's a businessman that has tried to keep things going. They're still paying for 4 or 5 houses within the city. They've still got, people like Aaron Fox, the head coach, who remains in the city. His kids are at school in Sheffield. And they have other players that are here. And one of the big issues now for Great Britain is it was announced yesterday that the World Championships is going to take place, and it's going to be in Latvia. Great Britain are in the top pool. They're playing the likes of Russia, USA, Canada, Sweden, Finland. They're going to have to deal with that. And their players are going to have to, in the majority, deal with it without having played any high quality, high level hockey in 2019 and 2020. And that's going to be one of the big questions, is how the heck do you go and play against the best in the world when yours is the only league that isn't going? And there just aren't the jobs there available for them to go and play in France, Germany, Italy, Sweden, whatever, to get their fitness up. So that's going to be a huge, huge challenge. From a Steelers perspective, you're hoping that they're back on the ice in September 21, and that season can go off, and that the Sheffield Arena, which is currently being used as a COVID vaccine centre, can get back to being what it was designed for, which is hosting the best kind of events and the biggest sporting events, as it was originally in 91 for the World Student Games. And I think just, from my perspective as a coach of kids, I mean, I coached the North of England last year. You just feel so bad for them. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old who he's been on the ice, but he's played one competitive game since last March. And it kills him because he doesn't, at the moment, he can't go to a rink to go and see his mates that aren't his schoolmates. These are kids that he's grown up and he's gone through. He was doing sort of 7 or 8 hours of ice hockey training through the week, from really, I suppose, January, well, all the way through last year, he was playing 2 or 3 games of a weekend. It was a huge part of his life. And so as a dad, I look at him and I just feel so sorry that I'm not able to improve that situation for him to go and do the thing that he loves more than anything else. And as a coach, that means I've got 20 kids that feel like that. And if you want a real big laugh and to raise an eyebrow, you know what I'm going to be doing at 5 o'clock tonight, Alan? I will be running a Zoom HIIT fitness session.
I hope you're doing all the exercises, mate.
Yeah, I'll be doing them all like this. Yeah,
I love it.
From my seat, upper body only.
This is not the Seth Bennett.
Burpee tuck jumps we need. Burpee tuck jumps.
Yeah, do a few of those, a few split squats.
Sets of 10. I want a video, Seth. Sets of 10, burpee tuck jump. I don't think you'll get to 10.
You don't think I'll get to 10?
Challenge, burpee tuck jumps, knees right up. Let's see what you got.
Okay.
Floor to sky burpees, by the way.
Floor to sky, okay.
He might get to 10 pints. I bet that's the only 10 you'll get to, I reckon. Seth, I'll believe it when I see it, mate. But thank you so much. Thank you so much to both of you. It's been an absolutely brilliant hour. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope everybody has at home. So big thank you to both Seth Bennett and to Michael Brown. And Michael, enjoy Newcastle on Saturday and get your coaching instructions ready for Steve Bruce. Many thanks, guys. Thank you to you for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye now. Bye.